Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, July 29th, 2018. This is episode 1510. Enjoy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Wait, time to talk computers. Yeah, the internet. Home theater, digital photography. We're going to talk smartphones. We're going to talk smartwatches. We're going to talk augmented reality. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's the number if you want to participate in the programming by actually contributing, by being my co-star. Because, frankly, that's what you are on a call-in talk show. Yeah, it's you and me, buddy. 8888 Ask Leo. Website. We have a great website. I always like to plug it because it's free. I'm not plugging it because I make money off of it. In fact, it costs us money, but it's such a useful thing, I think, for you because everything we say is there. Everything that comes up on the show, all the answers, all the questions, anything I talk about. James DeRuvo, who is our stellar transcriptionist, is writing this all down. And then it's up on the website. And for your perusal and search, and this is episode 1510, so there's quite a bit of content there. Some of it a little out of date by now, since when I started doing this show in 2004. But techguylabs.com is the place to go. techguylabs.com if you're interested. I thought this was a wild story, and I'll be interested to see what comes of it in the news. New York State is kicking out internet and cable provider Spectrum. It used to be called Charter. The state, when Charter merged with Spectrum, which I think was Time Warner Cable, in 2016, the state said, "Okay, we'll let you do this, but you have to roll out high-speed internet across rural areas." Which, of course, this is the big problem with internet, is that the internet service providers, not being fools, wire up the cities where the population density is high and the chance to make money is great, but are much less interested in rural areas where there might be one person in every square mile. And that means, you're going to have to wire up somebody miles from the office and try somehow to recoup that loss. So they don't like to do it. They don't want to do it. They don't do it, frankly. And I thought this was a reasonable request. The state of New York said to Spectrum, all right, well, you can do the merger. We understand it's going to cost you money to wire up these people, but they need it. It's very important that everybody have the internet, right? I think we'd agree on that. And you're going to make so much money on New York City alone that this should be worth it for you. Fair enough? The company said, sure, fair. Then didn't do anything. This happens, by the way, all the time. Cable companies, in order to get into a city, they have to get the approval of the locality. Sometimes the city, usually the city, sometimes the county, maybe the state, to go in there because they have a monopoly. You notice there's only one cable company in your area? That's in almost every place, and that's because it's a regional monopoly that's allowed. The FCC said, okay, but the local government has to approve it. You have to bargain for it. It's for a certain term. And in the bargaining, these companies offer a lot of stuff. Here in our little Northern California area, Comcast is dominant in Northern California. Comcast promised to do all sorts of things, wire up the schools and public internet, all sorts of things. None of that happened. But imagine yourself a member of the city council saying, all right, Comcast hasn't lived up to their promises. We're going to kick them out. We'll find somebody else. A, you better find somebody else. B, the voters are not going to be happy when their internet stops working and their cable TV, maybe more important, when their cable TV stops working. So it's really unusual for any locality to say, look, you're not living up to your promises. You got to get out of here. You didn't live up to, they have the contractual right to do so, but that's politically difficult. So it's really interesting, the state. And not only is the state kicking Spectrum out, they're saying, you have to keep operating for the next 2 months while we find somebody else. And you have to pay us $3 million in penalties. This was all contractually specified 2 years ago during the merger. The company says, well, wait a minute. Hold on now. Quote, we've extended the reach of our advanced broadband network. They always got to get a little plug-in. You know, we got the best. We got the advanced broadband network to more than 86,000 New York homes and businesses. Yeah, but the contract said you had to expand it to an additional 145,000. New York State Public Service Commission Chairman John Rhodes said Charter's noncompliance and brazenly disrespectful behavior toward New York State and its customers necessitates the action taken today, seeking court-ordered penalties for its failures and revoking the Charter merger approval. Wow. New York there's only a few states big enough to do this. New York's a big one, right? That's a lot of customers because of the city. I'm sure Charter will drag its feet, appeal, be upset. I'm sure they'll fight this like crazy. And if you're in New York State, I wonder what, there's probably a little trepidation. Oh my gosh, are we going to lose our cable TV and internet? What's going to happen? Because that seems like 2 months for a state government to find a replacement. Good luck. On the other hand, it's such a lucrative market. Maybe the other guy, maybe Comcast will say, well, we'll do that. We'll do that. We can do that. And yeah, we'll wire all those rural people. We'll do that over the next 5 years. 5 years later, then they haven't. Then we'll see what happens. But I like seeing a little spunk, a little spine from the state government. Hey, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. It happens so rarely. Well done. Now let's see what the upshot is. Will it actually happen? That's the question mark. To me, that's the happy story of the day. Now, of course, there's lots of unhappy. Technology seems lately to be filled with unhappy stories. Russian hackers assaulting our grid. Facebook just ignoring privacy rights. That kind of thing. Let's see. Let's see if I can find another happy story. Nope. No. So while Twitter's kicking off the trolls, it actually killed Twitter's stock price by about 19% because, the stock market says to Twitter, you've got to grow. You're a tech company. That means you got to double every year or something. You got to have insane growth. Twitter has been very stagnant, about 300-some million monthly active users. Now, because they booted off a small number, by the way, of bots and trolls, only about 1 million in the last 3 months, the stock market punished them by dropping their price 20%. It's hard because that's the right thing to do, right? You want to kick these Russian trolls and bots and, these imaginary sock puppet Twitter accounts. You want to get rid of them. I lost about 5% of my followers. I think some lost more. But that's a fraction. I mean, I would guess, looking at, who's following me, about half the people following me, and most people, somewhere around a third to a half are fake accounts. They're not real accounts, not run by humans. They should get rid of all of them. But imagine what the stock market would do if Twitter said, yeah, we just kicked off 100 million people. No. So they do a little bit, and they still get kicked. Here's a fun one. We're all talking about face recognition. This is the sad one. We're all talking about face recognition technology. Amazon's got one called Recognition with the K. And they're selling it, renting it. It's not expensive to law enforcement. You think this would be a good idea. Law enforcement has a bunch of mug shots. They have an unsolved crime. They have a video or a picture of the criminal. They can match it up and say, we got you. Problem is, and it's a big problem, the face recognition has been trained mostly with white men, so it's terrible with people of color. In fact, a whole lot of mistakes. ACLU decided to run the 25 mugshot database against the members of Congress. And it turns out Congress is full of perps. 6 members of the Black Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, 6 members were flagged as felons. I think a total of 26, 28 people. It's crazy. These, obviously, they're not. 28 members of Congress falsely matched with the mugshot database because this stuff works so poorly. Amazon said, no, you only set it for 80% probability. You guys set it for 99% probability. Oh, okay. 80% seems fairly high. They tested it against all 538 members of the House and the Senate, and they found that it turns out it's full of crooks. Well, that may be true, but not these crooks. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. Kim Schaffer's been sitting at that phone. Poor Kim, waiting for calls to come in. It's not a good feeling, is it, when no one calls?
But I don't ever have that problem.
No, of course not. Because you're a star.
No.
You mean people are calling?
Yes, of course they are.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Yeah, if they don't call, usually we just assume there's something wrong with the phone
radio.
line. Yeah, the radio's broken.
Or there's football on all the radio.
Couldn't possibly be my fault.
Yeah.
Couldn't possibly. So who should I start with here?
Oh, how about Chris in Fort Worth? He's got a tablet currently, but he's looking for Step Up.
All right.
And it has to be Android, though.
Thank you, Kim. Chris in Fort Worth, where the West begins. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Thanks.
Good.
Last Christmas I got a Asus ZenPad 10 for Christmas, and it's obviously a lower tier device. It's got a MediaTek processor, which I find is really stubborn and crashes a lot. I was looking for something a little step up that might not break the bank.
And you're set on a tablet?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I had a Chromebook for a while and I liked it, but I just missed the portability of
You like having, the tablet thing. There is finally a Chromebook tablet, but I don't recommend it. It was originally designed for schools. It sells for $330. And I think it's, is it Asus? I think it is, but I'm not sure I would recommend it. Probably still the best Android tablets out there are made by Samsung.
Okay.
They have the best screens. They're also the highest price. The Amazon Galaxy Tab S3 is about $450. It's iPad price.
Right.
So here's the issue I have. Although it's getting better, Android, and you would be aware of this, you have an Android tablet. Android, a lot of apps don't really understand the tablet screen. They're designed for smaller screens, although that's slowly changing, especially because Chrome OS now supports Android. So, when you write an app, you should never assume anything about the screen size, but a lot of app developers do. And so a lot of times when you open an Android app on something with a bigger screen, you get a window the size of a phone, a rectangle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of annoying. But more and more, certainly with the Google apps, Google wants you to, wants this tablet thing to take off. They made a tablet, which I thought was awesome, called the Pixel C. But they don't sell it anymore. In fact, I'm just looking at prices on places like Amazon, and I think Google was selling it for something like $800. It's now up to $1,500 on Amazon, and that's because it's somebody selling. They're not. Google's not selling them anymore, so I don't know where people are getting them. It was nice. I had one. I gave it away. It came out in 2016. I gave it away because of this problem. I just found it was nice, though, because it had a keyboard, and it was part of the case, and you'd twist it, and the keyboard would become a stand. And so I think it was not originally designed to be an Android tablet. The scuttlebutt was Google was going to do some sort of Chrome-Android hybrid, which they are now doing. So if the Samsung is too rich for you, there are... Asus and others still sell less expensive ones. But you said you actually pinpointed the problem, which is they come with slower processors and worse screens in order to get the price down. If budget is an issue, then always the Amazon tablets, which actually run Android, believe it or not, but are customized heavily by Amazon to be an Amazon product. Those are the best because they're heavily subsidized. Amazon basically makes money. They don't have to make money on the hardware. They make money on you buying stuff.
Right.
So they make decent, cheap tablets, but again, you give away, the screen quality is pretty low. Often, you're right, MediaTek or worse processors. The Samsung S3 has a special Qualcomm processor, but it's quad-core and it runs at 2 gigahertz plus, so it's a pretty decent device. And Samsung's done nice screens. But even Samsung seems to have kind of not abandoned the market, but they haven't been updating these as fast as they ought to, frankly. So
another issue.
Go ahead.
Another issue I had was the security patch level on issues I have now. It's still back in December 2017.
And that's terrible because Google puts out patches monthly now. You should be at least July 2018 if you're completely up to date.
Exactly.
And the risk of that, as I've mentioned before, is when a patch comes out, that's a signal to hackers. Well, there's something wrong here, and they often can deduce it from the patch. So if you're sitting unpatched for a couple of years, you're sitting a sitting duck. That's not good. So you're right to consider that.
And get a better tablet then.
I think what some people, I think really there's no question in my mind that if you're going to get a tablet, the iPad is a tablet to get, especially if you're going to spend $450.
That's what I was thinking.
Yep, that is at least kept secure. And then the reason that I think the Android tablets have not taken off is because of what we call the phablets, which are phones that are so big that people go, I don't really think I need a tablet. Something like the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. They're going to announce the Note 9 in a couple of weeks. I think August 9th or 10th. Maybe it's the 9th.
I work for T-Mobile.
Oh, you know about it then?
Yeah, we had a rep that came in the other day from Samsung, and he's like, I've got an announcement. And since I watched the show, I kind of had a little...
You know what it was. Yeah. So I really like the Notes. The Note 9 I don't think is going to be vastly different than the Note 8, but it's, those are 6+ inch screens. They're getting close to tablet size. I think a lot of people have just said, I'm just going to get a big phone and live with that. So August 9th, watch what they announce, and you certainly, if you're working at T-Mobile, you've seen all the teasers and the leaks and stuff. And Samsung is pretty good about letting everything leak out ahead of time because they need to create buzz. So I think we know everything about the Note 9 that there is to know. So
awesome, Leo. Well, thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure. It's great to talk to you. I'm a T-Mobile customer, by the way. Love T-Mobile.
Yeah, they're great. I had AT&T until I started working there, and I would never switch back.
I'm very happy. They just added a $25 international. If I have the T-Mobile One plan, and I can add for another $25 unlimited international data. And I'm traveling next month, and I just thought, well, this is a deal. I'm doing it, so I'm very happy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So the Note 9, codenamed Crown. What do we know? Oh, there is a note. Actually, August 1st. I should have mentioned this. A week earlier, they're going to probably show the new Tab S4. So if you're still in the market for a tablet, an Android tablet, you might wait and see what they announce. What is that? Tuesday. So I should have said that. I'll mention it when I come back. So what are the deals? What's the deal with the Note 9? What do we know? It'll be the 845 in the U.S. It'll be at whatever new Exynos processor Samsung has in the rest of the world. Battery probably will be very good. It's going to be a dual lens camera, Bixby still, which is kind of the negative on this. They've already pushed out, so much information. Samsung is a sieve when it comes to. I'm just looking at some of the leaks here. There is no home button on this thing, which actually the Note 8 didn't have either, right? It does have a headphone jack. Samsung, they're never going to have a notch or a headphone jack. They mock Apple mightily. You've seen the ads, the ingenious ads. They're pretty funny. Yellow S Pen, who cares? Although, actually, I do like that because it'd be a little harder to lose. Maybe many colors, right? A pen of many colors. Design looks very similar. Glass back, dual lens camera, fingerprint on the back. Scanner is better positioned, thank God. It's like the S9 where it's below the camera instead of next to it, which was a terrible design choice. I think it's actually not much change from the S8. Just a newer processor, probably. More colors: blue, copper, silver, violet, and black, all rumored. I like my purple S9. I like that a lot. I doubt they'll raise the price, but who knows? We'll find out. Find out on August 9th. And then August 1st, which is what? This is the 29th, 30th. So Tuesday, we'll find out about the Note 4, probably, Samsung Galaxy Note 4. Or whatever, S4, sorry. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Don't you worry about a thing. 8888 Ask Leo. We're talking about Android tablets. A couple of extra notes I should throw in there, although I would stand by my suggestion that if you're going to spend more than a few $100 on a tablet, you should look at an iPad. Really is the king of the tablets by a landslide. Far more apps designed for it, secure. It's the the Apple ecosystem, not the Android ecosystem, but I have to say that's the tablet. But there are some choices, and what I didn't mention, and I forgot to mention, is that Wednesday, a week before Samsung announces the Note 9, Samsung is having an event, and it's believed they'll announce a new Android tablet, possibly the S4. So that might be worth waiting for, Wednesday, a new Samsung tablet. And then our Chandra in our chat room says he's very happy with his Lenovo Android tablet. So I should mention that as well. There is an 8-inch and a 10-inch version. He says he has the 8-inch version. 8's a nice size. 7 or 8 is, bigger than a phone, but small enough to carry, easily carry around. It's kind of a nice size for a tablet. Apple has the iPad Mini, a 7-inch tablet. Google used to make a great 7-inch tablet, which I still use. It was cheap. It was $230, and I still use it, although it's now so old that I wouldn't use it on the public internet. But it's a useful little device. I actually use it as a little timer and annunciator here in the studio to let me know when I have to stop talking. And it's telling me that right now. So on we go. Line 1, Bob, Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Bob.
Good morning, Leo. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. I have about a 13-year-old Nokia phone and flip phone. So I'm in the process of ditching that and looking at either an Android or an iPhone. However, my contacts are most of them on about 500 plus 3x5 cards.
Oh dear!
And I'm old. My fingerprints are gone, and my eyesight's not great. Okay. So I would like to figure out some way to enter all of this information in a PC, which could then be like V-card compatible and then transferred later to an iPhone or a Android phone.
This is absolutely, it's time to do this because the paper Rolodex is so inconvenient. There's only one copy. You can't search it easily, and you'll see the value immediately of getting your contacts into a data. Basically, it's a database that you can then sync up anywhere. My suggestion is Google Contacts, because either Android or iPhone and any computer operating system you use will automatically pull those contacts down from Google. And it's a two-way street. So a change made on the phone, the computer automatically goes to the Google database, and any change on the Google website goes the other way. So it's a very secure, powerful way to store your contacts. Of course, are these handwritten Rolodexes?
Yes, that's correct. With multiple for a particular person, it might have multiple telephone numbers, email accounts, multiple physical addresses, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and these contact databases these days are so flexible that you can add fields, arbitrary fields of any kind. You can have multiple addresses, you can multiple phone numbers. You can designate each phone number with a label so you know exactly what you're doing. But it's going to take some hand entry 550 cards isn't terrible. I have more than 3,000 contacts in my database. If I had to maintain a card, Rolodex, I would be really unhappy. So you're going to have to. There's going to be pain initially. You could pay somebody to do it, some college kid to do it, or if you're in the mood, you could spend a few days carefully entering this in. There's a couple of ways to do it. Do you have a computer?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So in that case, I think probably the easiest way would be to go to contacts.google.com. Do you have a Gmail account yet?
No, I assume I would have to set up one.
Yeah, so you set up a Google account. It's not a big deal. Secure it, not only with a good password, but turn on something they call two-factor. Once you get your smartphone, you can put a authentication program on there. Google has one. There are many free authentication programs that will then generate a one-time 6-digit code every 30 seconds that you use in addition to the password the first time you log on a device. Only the first time. But that's great. That is, Google just did 2 years ago, Google started requiring its employees, 85,000 employees, to use a second factor authentication on their passwords. And in that time, there's been 0 successful phishing attempts. It's such a good way to secure your accounts that it really is. It's the last word in it, I think. So create a Google account. It's not a difficult thing to do. It's free. All of this is free. That's the amazing thing. Until you get to the phone, then you'll be paying through the nose.
Right. Okay. Well, my big concern was I was thinking about creating either a database of some sort or a spreadsheet to do all of this in, but then I could not find the specific contact field specifications and limitations on the Android and iPhones.
Yeah, and don't do that because basically Google Contacts is that database, completely designed around the notion of contacts. So because it's become the lingua franca, everybody understands it. So no matter what phone you choose, what application you choose, there's always a setting that says, "Oh, do you want to synchronize with Google Contacts?" So,
okay.
So once you have that, you'll only do this once. You'll have a copy forever.
All right. Do you have time for one quick question?
Sure.
All right. On selection of a phone between an Android and an iPhone, I assume that many of the Android phones now are moving away from entering just like a PIN number with your finger, that it's either going to be your fingerprint or it's going to be face recognition.
That's right.
I see more and more of that.
And you said you have no fingerprint.
I'd have little to no fingerprint.
How is that? Are you a woodworker? What did you...
No. It was working with lots of chemicals. And,
okay.
Assembly of stuff and so forth.
So you're in a small percentage of the population that can't use a fingerprint reader.
Right, correct.
So truthfully, a PIN, a 6-digit PIN is fine, and all phones will support that in lieu of a fingerprint reader. Face recognition is pretty cool. I use an iPhone 10, and the iPhone 10 doesn't... Shh. I'm not talking to you, Google. I have too many devices that talk back to me. The face recognition is actually pretty good on the Apple iPhone 10, and you can always use a 6-digit PIN instead, and it doesn't take very long. They put up a little number pad, so it doesn't take very long to enter that. 6 digits is considered adequate. It's not the best possible security. If you wanted more, you could add, you could have a real password or longer PIN. But I think for most people, that's more than adequate. And I think the face recognition is pretty successful. It works pretty well. The drawback, you said your eyesight's a little weak. The drawback on the iPhone 10 is it's not the biggest phone out there. It's not super small either. In fact, it's bigger than your Nokia, and you're going to probably already be a little bit of a culture shock moving to the iPhone. But you can make it's very good accessibility. You can make the text large as you choose. It has the contact manager on it will automatically sync with Google Contacts, although there are other choices. I use a paid contact manager on the iPhone called Full Contact that will scan business cards. So if some of your Rolodex is business cards, Full Contact will do that automatically. It's the handwritten stuff. Nothing can read handwritten stuff. So
right.
You're going to data entry that.
Okay.
I think this is a great move, honestly. And I do think for your first smartphone, an iPhone is probably the best choice.
Okay. Well, I will thank you very much and hang up and let other people come in. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. No, the nice thing is This is, I know you feel like, well, you're getting personal help, but really this is the kind of question a lot of people have. And I always try to take questions that are kind of general interest. I think a lot of people are in your boat. I'll tell you what, once I moved my contacts to digital form, my life changed. One thing though, make a backup on your computer, because just in case, it's always good to have an extra copy locally. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I said it right at the end, but I want to reiterate. When you spend hours entering in your card catalog, your Rolodex, by hand, entering it into the Google Contacts, the very first thing you do after you do that is you copy it. You save a copy, and Google Contacts has an export, and you'll do that. And when you export it, let me see where it is. It's in menu. Other contacts. I wonder where. Oh, yeah. Under more, import, export, print. You could print a copy, but I think the best thing is to export a copy. When you export it, they give you a couple of choices. You could just do a simple commas. Let me say that again. I do need a cup of coffee. Comma separated values. And they say Google style or Outlook style. It doesn't really matter. And then vCard, and our caller had mentioned vCard. vCard is a standard, kind of a calling card standard for contact information, and you can export them out as vCards as well. And any of those three are fine. Doesn't really matter. The point being, you now have a local copy which you're backing up and you keep around just in case. That was a lot of work, entering 550 contacts out of a Rolodex. You don't want to ever have to do that again. And if you make a backup copy, you guarantee you won't. You can always get back at least to that point, the point where you did all that manual entry. Why would you do that? Well, syncing is hard. Synchronizing data is hard, and it's not unusual for synchronization. I think it's gotten better. I haven't had a problem lately, but in the past, weird things have happened. Cards get merged incorrectly. My father's name is the same as mine, and they constantly try to merge my dad's information with mine, which messes up my card, right? So it's things like that. Sometimes phone numbers get messed up. So in fact, probably it's a good idea if you have it, you've done it perfectly the first time, export that, and then periodically export a copy. The worst case scenario, which does happen. Oh, Burke, you're so kind.
Special coffee.
My requests for coffee weren't really aimed at you, but I appreciate it. Thank you. And you put it in the mug that my wife refuses to use because it says admin. Somebody gave her a mug instead of boss, because she's the boss. Gave her an admin mug, and she doesn't. She says, "I'm not an admin. I'm the CEO." So I'll be the admin. What was I saying? Oh, the worst case scenario in a synchronization, the worst, and it does happen. We get calls from time to time that you're synchronizing with a new phone or a new computer which has no contacts, and for some reason the synchronizer says, "Oh, the master database is that new phone with no contacts, so I'm just going to delete everything." That's worst case scenario. And you don't want to wake up and have zero contacts, right? If that happens, at least you can go back. You can say, well, I made a backup. Restore that backup. It's easy to import those vCards or the comma separated value database and get back to where you were. In fact, if you make a lot of changes, back it up again. Have extra copies, just in case. Well, it's not going to happen. And the truth is, once you have it on your phone, you have it on your computer, Google has a copy, you're probably golden. But just, I'd hate for anybody to call me up and say, "Leo, I don't want to have to do that all again." No. So make sure you make a copy. Really, that is the bottom line rule of backup in general. If you put a lot of work into something, make a copy. In days gone by, people wrote novels on typewriters, and, they had a manuscript. It's a famous story. Ralph Ellison, the author of Invisible Man, one of the great novels of all time, wrote a second novel, and the manuscript was destroyed, lost. He was so dejected, He didn't recreate it, and he never wrote another novel again. That's a terrible loss, not just to him, but to everybody. So nowadays, there's no excuse. You're not typing it on pieces of paper that you have to Xerox, or you've got it on the computer. Just make backups, okay? Anything you put a lot of time into, make a backup. And actually, a printed backup's not a bad thing to do, to have that. Put it somewhere safe, get it off site, put in a safe deposit box or something. It's a good idea to do that. 8888 ask Leo the phone number. Back to the phones we go. Line 3. Michael, Fountain, Colorado. Hello, Michael.
Bonjour, Monsieur Laporte.
Bonjour, comment ça va? It's liberty time.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I've been getting this pop-up happening. I have 2 emails addresses. One is with Outlook. One is with Yahoo. Yahoo keeps popping up. Michael, danger, Will Robinson, danger. You have 2 days.
Danger.
Oh, I love that.
I happen to have that to hand.
You do a lot of danger stuff. What can I say? Danger Mouse.
Danger.
There's an old one.
Don't have that one.
No. Anyway, it says, Michael, don't lose access to the new Yahoo Mail. Your browser will no longer be supported after 7/31.
What browser are you using?
Well, I've got Outlook,
Internet
Outlook
Explorer?
Yeah.
Are you on Windows XP?
No.
Okay. What version of Windows are you using?
7.
Aha. And you're doing your regular updates, aren't you?
Yes.
I wonder, that's interesting. Do you know what version of IE you have?
11, I believe.
Oh, that's the most recent version. Yahoo's saying you can't use IE 11 after the end of the month?
Yep.
What? What? Well, that's, thanks, Yahoo. Thanks, Oath.
Yeah,
thanks, Verizon.
They're changing things, so,
Yahoo Mail not working with So that's almost unconscionable, since IE 11 is it's not the default browser anymore on Windows. Windows 10, they've moved to Edge, but it still comes with Windows 10. Yep. And there's no reason. Yeah, IE 11 is going to be unsupported. Well, that's terrible. All right, well, what are you going to do? You're going to have to use a new browser.
Right. It says to continue enjoying the new version of Mail. Geez, I always like new.
Yeah.
Please use one of the supported browsers below. Get Firefox, get Chrome. Now, I've already got Chrome on the machine. I just never use it.
All right, so Chrome is fine. I want you to be able to use IE 11. There is a possibility that you've got compatibility view turned on, which would be telling Yahoo that you're using an older version of IE 11. I want you to make sure that that's not the case.
Okay.
So you go into IE Tools, okay?
Okay.
And there's a section of tools called Compatibility View Settings.
Okay.
And uncheck if you have the boxes use Microsoft compatibility lists or display internet sites in compatibility view. That's for some cases, not yours, where you're on an intranet site that won't work with a modern browser. But you don't want compatibility view, so uncheck those 2 boxes if they're checked. Maybe that's what's going on. It may be that IE is reporting the wrong version. I can't understand why Yahoo would stop. Let me look. Supported web browser for Yahoo products. Yeah. IE is, never mind. IE is no longer a supported browser. Holy cow. That's hard to believe. So Firefox, Chrome, Safari, or Edge. You can't get Edge on Windows 7 because that's for Windows 10. So,
well, I've got a dual boot machine,
all right,
so I can get it on the Windows 10.
I don't frankly understand that. IE 11 is standards compliant. I don't get it, but they. So I like Chrome a lot. If you don't want to use Google's browser, Firefox is open source and very, very good these days. They've made major improvements. In fact, it's probably a better browser if privacy is a concern.
anybody wants to know anything about me, they can find it.
That's what I say.
Well, except my military records, which the CIA lost somewhere in Europe back in the 70s.
Now, that's a story for another day. I'd like to hear what the heck that's all about.
Well, you don't want to know how many spooks I've run into in my life.
Well, maybe you should be using Firefox then. maybe there's a cause for you to be a little bit more private. I really like the new Firefox. Both of these are free, Firefox and Chrome. They're very good choices. Just use them instead of IE11. In fact, I would just switch over. You can import your IE11 bookmarks. You might be impressed by the broad range of plugins and extensions available for more modern browsers. Including ad blockers and password managers and things like that. I would say just bite. I'm seeing on this, I'm stunned, but I'm seeing in the Yahoo help, they don't support IE. So it's time to change. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones and smartwatches. And, you've heard that list, so I'll run through it. Anything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's anywhere in the U.S. or Canada outside that area. You can still reach us by calling it with a Skype or some other voice over the internet. A technology that lets you call a real phone number in the U.S. And since there's a toll-free number, shouldn't cost you anything. 888-827-5536. Website where I put all the answers to all the questions, techguylabs.com. That's free, no sign-up required. techguylabs.com. Back we go to the phones. On the line, Kathy in Santa Cruz. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
Great. How are you in Santa Cruz?
Good. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm listening to you on the phone and watching you on my computer. Things don't match up.
I know. My lips are saying one thing and my eyes are saying another.
I know. Well, just to back up a bit about that email your last caller talked about, I have AT&T Yahoo, and I'm getting the same prompt.
Yeah.
It wants me to go to Chrome or Firefox. I don't want either one of them, but I haven't done it yet. But it didn't give me a date of the 31st, thank goodness. But
well, if it's still working, it's still working. I wouldn't worry about it. You might be missing a few features, but why? Just out of curiosity, is it just the pain of moving that blocks you from doing this?
I like Internet Explorer. I don't like. I've never used Firefox, and I'm not crazy about Chrome.
Yeah. So. Try Firefox. I know what you mean. You get used to a user interface, and the newer browsers really aren't the same at all. They really look different.
I know.
But you get used to it, and it is kind of good to be using a browser that is very regularly, carefully updated, because the browser is the front line of defense, frankly. It's the thing that you go online with. And, of course, all the threats, all the security issues come from out there. So whatever door you're using the internet, that's the thing that needs to be secure. That's your browser. So I think it's good to use Chrome or Firefox because they are more secure, frankly.
Okay. Well, my question actually, it's about Adobe Acrobat Reader. And speaking of updates and that sort of thing, about a year ago I was updating Windows, and I accidentally unplugged my laptop and everything got messed up.
Oh, rats.
I know. And I got everything back, but I have since then I've been having an intermittent problem with this Adobe Reader. When I'm on MSN, it'll not have pictures, or it'll have a little black circle in the upper left-hand corner.
Wow. Internet Explorer, MSN, and Adobe Reader. I feel like I'm back in the 90s.
Oh,
we need to get you into the modern world a little bit.
Okay.
What version of Windows are you using?
7.
Okay.
With Internet Explorer, but I get this thing that says Adobe Reader plug-in reader is missing. Reinstall Adobe Acrobat Reader to fix the problem.
Please don't.
And then I'll close out and come back in on it, and it's fine. So it just comes and goes. But I don't know how to install it.
So the other door to bad guys into your computer is Adobe Reader.
Oh.
Actually, I strongly recommend it against Adobe Reader. It used to be that you needed that to read PDFs. Modern operating systems like Windows 10 and Mac OS don't require Adobe Reader.
Yeah, I never use it, so, but it's just once in a while, like I said, when I'm on MSN looking at things and the picture will disappear. So
here's the problem with Adobe Reader is Adobe has done a terrible job of writing its software, Flash and Reader, and there are patches every month for massive security flaws. So using Reader, unless you're really keeping it up to date, is very dangerous because a website can have a hidden PDF on that website that your browser, because it's insecure, loads the PDF automatically and calls Adobe Reader and says, hey, let's display this. And Adobe Reader says, oh, you know what? Instead of displaying it, I'm going to infect your computer with malware. And this happens all the time. So I want you to uninstall Adobe Reader entirely.
Okay.
Please. That's a terrible thing. And if you, I don't know why MSN is calling it up, but it shouldn't be.
Okay. Still have the icon on my desktop. Is that where I would uninstall it?
Oh, man.
From?
No, the best way to do it is to go into your uninstall programs control panel.
Okay.
And install it. Did you decided not to update to Windows 10?
No, I wanted to stay with 7.
So I understand. I don't. You like many of us, you like things to stay the same.
Yeah.
But in computing, this is very risky behavior because the things change for two reasons. It's unfortunate because they mix the two together, and one reason is the company wants to make more money and give you whizzy new features that make you want to give them money, et cetera, et cetera. The other one is, well, we found some massive security flaws in our software and we need to update it. And I wish they didn't mix the two together, but they do. Windows 10, they want you to go to Windows 10, yeah, because it's the new version and there's but also because it's much more secure. And they would like everybody to be using Windows 10 now because once everybody's on the same, plane, it's easier for everybody. Most importantly, it's easy to keep things secure. So
yeah,
I kind of wish you'd upgraded. You should. MSN is also superannuated. I'm surprised that you use it just as a website. You're not. Please tell me you're not using the MSN software.
No, I just look at the news items on there.
Okay, and you notice every time you load MSN, it says get the all-new Microsoft News app. And
I don't.
Yeah, you see on Windows 10, you'd see basically they want to get you off MSN as well.
Okay. Yeah, you had said before that it was going to be supported till 2020, so that's why I'll just stick with 7. So.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh well.
Oh
Okay.
man. Well, let me see what we can do. The minimum that we can do, run Windows updates for sure.
Oh yeah. I do regularly.
Yeah, I would uninstall Adobe Reader and see if anything really asks for it. MSN should not be using it. Maybe it's because it's using IE11. I don't know, but MSN should be just displaying pictures plain. They shouldn't be asking for a PDF reader. It concerns me that this PDF reader is getting called on. That's not right.
Okay.
So uninstall it.
So tell me again, I go to uninstall programs?
It's Programs and Features control panel on Windows 7. The Programs and Features. And you'll see all the programs you've ever installed.
Okay.
And you just click on Adobe Reader. Click on anything that says Adobe.
Okay.
And then press the uninstall button.
Okay.
Get Adobe off of there.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Yeah. And then if it does say, oh, you need that again, there are other PDF programs you can use that are probably a little bit safer than Adobe Reader.
Okay. And it's basically just for the picture. It's not for the
But it shouldn't be needing that. I don't know why it's asking for that. It should just display it.
It doesn't do it every time, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right. It's hard, if you don't like change, and I know many people don't, the modern world is tough. And it's fine. You can live in a Victorian house. You can drive, a 1962 Rambler. You can only eat food that was invented in the 18th century. I mean, you can easily do that. But when it comes to the most modern thing we do, which is computing, it's not a good idea. You have to kind of embrace change. I'm sorry. Because otherwise you're just, the old stuff is no longer secure. It's often not supported. and it's not getting patched. And the bad guys, believe me, the bad guys embrace change. The bad guys are constant. Actually, they don't. They prefer you would stick with the old stuff. Actually, the truth is, the only other people who hate change as much as you do are bad guys who want you to continue to use old browsers, old operating systems, old software, because they've got all sorts of ways to get into your system through those. It's the new stuff they hate. They hate it too. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Hey, oh, let's go. Back to the phones we go. I think that's what they were saying. That's what the Ramones wanted us to do. Go back to the phones. Larry in Tustin, California. Hey, Larry.
Hey there, Leo. Boy, I've been...
You've been on hold so long you lost your voice.
Yeah.
Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
Last time I called you got to be at least 25 years ago.
Oh, my God. What did we talk about 25 years ago? MSN, Adobe Acrobat, Internet Explorer, that stuff, right?
Yeah. Anyway, I got a Galaxy S5.
Nice.
And the sucker is resetting to home screen every 30 seconds.
Well, I think there's two choices. You could get a new Galaxy phone, or you could try refreshing that phone.
Refreshing.
So it depends why it's rebooting. If it's a hardware problem, you're going to have to get a new phone. I mean, they may try to fix it, but it's now 4 generations old. I think smartphones, unfortunately, because they're perfectly, there's no reason why they would wear out, but I think they're really designed to last a couple of years. And then they want you to buy a new one. Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So if you go into settings, you'll see a settings entry called backup and reset. And you can go in there now. I got to tell you, don't do this right now. Before you do it, you want to make sure that anything that's on that phone that you need, you back up. But the backup and reset will allow you under reset to reset it to factory defaults, to basically erase and reset the firmware. That is always the first thing. In fact, if you called Samsung, that'd be the first thing they'd say is, well, we got to try that. To make sure that there's no software on there that's failing, or maybe the system software got corrupted or whatever. This will reset it back to the way it was when it came from the factory. So if you've got photos on there, you want to make sure they're backed up. Easiest way to do that is use Google Photos. You could use the Samsung Gallery app as well if you have a Samsung account. But I like Google Photos. It'll back up everything on the phone, and then you don't have to worry about it. It'll be, as soon as you reboot the phone, reset the phone, you install Google Photos again, and everything comes back to the phone. If there's documents somehow you've downloaded and saved on there, make sure those are copied off, because this is going to erase everything.
Yeah, I can't see the phone when I use the cable and plug it into my Windows 10.
You don't need to plug it in to do this. You can do this just...
Well, but I'm having trouble getting the stuff off it.
Oh, I see. What do you mean you can't see it?
Well,
I see. It doesn't show up on the desktop.
Yeah, no, it doesn't show.
All right. Yeah, that older phone, you might have to use Samsung's Keys program, KIES. Nowadays, if you plug in a Galaxy phone into Windows, it should just pop up and you could copy stuff off. But as I said, a lot of times copying stuff off doesn't mean literally copying it off. You could just use an app. What's on there that you need?
Oh, God. Mostly photographs.
Put Google Photos on there. Let that do it. That's good, because then you're backed up to the Google cloud, and if you lose the phone or whatever, you still got all your photos. I would do that anyway.
Yeah. Well, I bought an iPhone 10.
Oh.
It's completely undone. There's no. What do they call it? I wind up being tongue-tied. That's a hell of a help.
I don't know. Yeah, and I'm trying to imagine what you're talking about. I don't know. It's an unused phone. It's ready to go.
Yeah, there's no SIM in it.
Oh yeah, you need to. You could probably take the SIM. Who's your phone company?
Well, I use Verizon and Spectrum.
So you may not have a SIM in that S4 or S5, because I don't know if in that era Verizon put SIMs in. If you do have a SIM, you can just put it in the iPhone. You'll be good. because they're now all LTE. That phone is an LTE phone, so I bet you can take this. Yeah, it has a SIM, micro SIM. So you take the SIM out, put it in the iPhone, and that's now your phone. But you want to get the data off of it. The Google Photos trick works for iPhone as well. So if you install Google Photos in the old phone, let it back up. You'll have to open it up and say, back up all my photos. It might take a little while, but if you're doing it over Wi-Fi, it shouldn't take more than an hour. It depends how many photos you have.
It's the wrong size for the SIM to go into the 10.
Yeah, they use a nano SIM. So you have two choices. You can cut it, believe it or not, but I wouldn't do that. I have a SIM cutter. It looks like a hole puncher. Takes the micro SIM, boom, just because it's just cardboard. It cuts off the cardboard and it fits right in. But probably a better bet to go to the Verizon store and say, I need a SIM for my my iPhone, and they'll make the transfer over. They'll be the same number, all the same stuff. And then if you've used Google Photos, you just put Google Photos on your iPhone and whoop, all your photos are in there. If you use Google Contacts, whoop, all your contacts will be in there. If you use Google Calendar, whoop, all your calendar stuff will be in there. Nowadays, because phones are so easy to lose, it's rare that people have anything on the phone that they don't have, in the cloud somewhere. So, I think mainly make sure you got everything up there. Either use the iPhone, or if you want to continue to use the S5, just do that reset after you've backed everything up and cross your fingers. You probably will have everything. I bet you everything will work. If it doesn't, then that phone is broken. That's the technical term we used. Kerfluggered. It's shot. It's gone. It's dead. It's a dead phone. And nothing you can do about that but use that. It's nice you have an iPhone 10. It's time once again for the photo guy. Chris Marquardt. He is the host of a fabulous photography podcast called Tips from the Top Floor. He's a professional podcaster and leads wonderful trips all around the world to take pictures. Someday, I hope, I dream, I fantasize about joining Chris on one of his great workshops. DiscoverTheTopFloor.com is where you can find him. You have a place open, I think, for your trip coming up soon, right?
For Norway, northern Norway, which is Lofoten archipelago, which is one of my favorite places in the world. It's just the way the sea and the mountains go straight down to the sea. The landscape is amazing. The people are amazing. The sights are amazing. It's pretty much impossible to take a bad photo there.
Nice.
We're going early
Northern
September.
Lights. You're going for the Northern Lights.
That's what we're trying to capture, definitely.
So I'm going to be in a warmer climb in early September. I'm going to be in Southern Europe, so I'll be looking north to see you. But if somebody would like to go with Chris, go to DiscoverTheTopFloor.com.
It's not that cold. It's just scratching the Arctic.
It's
so
nippy.
Just a little.
Hey, you'll be proud of me. I took a picture of shoes.
No.
Yes,
you did.
But they're not. It's not. I'm working on it still. I'm going to do more, but I'm preparing because I got this bug. Some photo expert that I know said I should just on my next trip take one lens with me, a 50 millimeter lens.
No idea what you're talking about.
And I have to practice because it's manual focus. It's like I just really need to practice. But I have to say the images are really nice. I've put a few up on my Flickr site. I'm Leo Ville on Flickr, or on my website for my photos, which is leo.camera, www.leo.camera. And I'm pretty happy with those, but I still haven't got a great shoe picture because that's our assignment this week. We'll talk about that in a second. What do you want to talk about right now?
Well, I want to kind of retroactively talk about a phenomenon that we had here in Europe on last Friday. Have you heard of the blood moon?
Ooh, yeah. Well, the only reason I heard of it is I've seen a lot of photos of it.
Yeah,
it's
all over social media, all over the media. So it was a lunar eclipse. It was the longest lunar eclipse in this century.
Wow.
And
we didn't get it in Northern California, but did you get it?
It was the wrong time, yeah. It was the wrong time. So it was almost perfect. Almost perfect. We had free sight towards the southeast from where I live, so just had to go out to the fields. It was happening during the moonrise, which means the moon is right over the horizon, which makes it really wonderful to combine with stuff. Stuff on the horizon is not just a picture of the moon; it's a picture of the moon. In front you have a silhouette of something, and that just makes it such a nice picture. It also happened during the blue hour, which means the sun isn't quite gone yet, or the daylight isn't quite gone yet. So you have this deep blue sky, and the moon is called the blood moon because when the lunar eclipse is in totality, you end up having just the light that skims the Earth and the atmosphere of the Earth, the sunset light pretty much, hit the moon and turn it into this dark red light.
So beautiful.
And as a bonus, currently we have Mars in the sky, very visible in the sky. And here in Europe, during the totality, at least here over Germany, the ISS was zipping by during the totality.
Man, you could really get an action photo there.
It was like a perfect storm. And we went out right in time. I set up my tripod. We have some wind turbines at the horizon, so I wanted the deep red moon behind a wind turbine. I wanted to take some photos of that. You kind of need to do longer exposures when it's a lunar eclipse. I wanted to shoot some video of that. I had the drone with me, and then we stood there, and we had, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, it was very dry here, no clouds, perfect weather, perfect visibility. And the moment we went out, clouds started pulling up on the horizon. So I do not have a shot to prove I was there, unfortunately. But it was a good exercise to prepare and to think about where I wanted to be. I used one of these apps, Photographer's Ephemeris, to figure out where the moon would be at what point and
TPE,
where I.
That's a great app to have. Yeah.
And I could position myself exactly so that the moon would be behind that windmill, and it was perfect apart from the weather. After 2 weeks of dryness and everything, it decided to come in exactly at the wrong time.
Oh man.
But a lot of people got great photos, and it is always fun to kind of anticipate something like that, and then to do the math and to do the thinking about what do you need and what filters would you need.
The moon's in the sky. Why do you need to do any math?
Well, to know where the moon is and how high it's going to be, because I wanted that wind turbine to be in front of the moon.
So I'm looking at a website that has a bunch of these pictures. It's Business Insider. And a Reuters photographer got an amazing shot of the Greek Temple of Poseidon with the moon rising up behind it. And the moon is huge. He probably did something like that to figure out exactly where he should stand and how long a lens he should use to get that shot, right?
Exactly, and you have to be kind of careful. Took a bit of reading to find out what's the right focal length. It can't be too long. If you have a super tele lens, then the moon is going to be too fast for the lens. The moon is much faster than the stars, so
it's very bright.
You only can do a certain amount of seconds with a certain focal length.
It's moving.
I
see what you're saying. Yeah, it's also moving. Yeah.
To put all this together into a photo, you need the right conditions, and figuring all that out was a lot of fun. It was very very rewarding to at one point be at the point to know this is how I want to do this. This is the exact spot I want to be. You have a GPS on your phone, so you can have it guide you where you need to be, and then just the weather was not on our side, unfortunately.
Alas. Well, these things happen. That's one of the challenges. That's why when you do see a great picture of an eclipse, you appreciate it, because it's not only a lot of planning and thinking and technique, it's also some good luck involved.
That is true, yes.
Yeah. Let's get people to get some pictures. I want to get some pictures of shoes in our contest.
Shoes, or whichever way you want to interpret that. I mean, we have shoes in different contexts. I'm just looking at a camera right now, and that has a hot shoe on its top. So
that's
it's
another kind
accessory.
Of shoe.
If you are into sewing, you have a shoe there. If you like clothing, you know about shoes. Their shoes are everywhere. So
excellent. So the way we do this, you post your image on Flickr. I actually had to go through the process myself for the first time in a long time, so Flickr is free. It used to be a Yahoo site. Now it's owned by SmugMug, which is very, very good news. But you'll still use your Yahoo login to sign in. I don't know if you sign up fresh what you'd get. Maybe you still get that. They haven't converted it yet. But once you log in, and there's no charge for that, it's a great photo sharing site anyway. You should be a member if you're a photographer. And are you Nubui? N-U-B-U-I? Is that your?
That would be me, yes.
Yeah, he's Nubui. So flickr.com/Nubui. I'm flickr.com/Leoville. So you can see other people's photos. But then, if you take a picture illustrating the word or concept shoe or shoes, tag it. When you upload it to Flickr, you'll see a tag field. Put shoes in there and submit it to the Tech Guy group. Renee Silverman, our moderator, will welcome you. She'll probably like your photo because she's very nice. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll review those. And I'm going to take some more pictures. Shoe or shoes. Chris Marquardt, join him for the Northern Lights. You find out more at discoverthetopfloor.com. He's heading to Lofoten in September, and he'll be back here next week. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Leo.
Always a pleasure. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. More of your calls coming up right after this. Lofoten. That sounds like fun. Yeah, you know what? I've been using this camera now for a while. Just saying I got to only use this just to get used to it. And I have to say the image quality, because it's an A7R II and it's a really nice Leica lens, I'm really happy.
It's a stunning image quality.
Yeah, I'm
definitely.
really happy with the crispness of it. And what I've been doing, I probably shouldn't do this, is I've been boosting the vibrance and clarity in Lightroom just to get, it gives it a little more contrasty. That one I think popped the saturation a slight bit. It just gives it a little more, I don't know why I like these contrasty shots.
Okay, here's an exercise. Boost as much as you want, but try to not get more than 3 different colors in a shot.
Oh, wow.
Reduction in colors.
Yeah, because these are too colorful, aren't they?
And not necessarily.
It was a 4th of July
Give
parade.
it a try.
I mean.
I'm looking at your shoes photo right now. That is one of those. It's very reduced in the color spectrum.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of an interesting photo just because let me see if I can find it, because the
you have an interesting way of storing your shoes.
That's my son. That's Michael's, one on top of the other. It wasn't a great shot, but I wanted just to kind of try, doing it. And I'll get some better. I'll get some better pictures soon. I have to find some interesting shoes.
There's shoes everywhere.
Shoes everywhere. There are. All right. Thank you, Chris.
Okie dokie.
Have a good one. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Neil in Phoenix, Arizona is next. Hi, Neil.
Hey, Leo. How are you doing today?
I am well. How are you?
Thank you for taking my call. I'm
pleasure.
doing great. Just a comment and a question for you. First, I was thinking after yesterday's show about your comments about the dominant smartphone platforms. You probably forgot about this one a few years ago. It was a Windows phone by T-Mobile when they first came out, what I called their first smartphone. It was about the size of your hand, and it was made by T-Mobile, and it was manufactured by HTC with a stylus and everything. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah. You could in no way call it dominant, but yeah, it's in a way it's unfortunate. So the conversation was about Google getting in trouble with the EU. In fact, fined $5 billion because they used their mobile phone, their Android dominance in an inappropriate way. It was an antitrust action, and they have 75% of the market in the EU. Apple has the other 25%. And it is a shame. That phone you're talking about was a Windows CE based phone, which we often use the acronym WINCE for because it made you wince when you used it. Microsoft actually did a great job when they put out Windows Phone 7 and then later Windows Phone 8. I thought they did a very good job of reinventing smartphones. It was a very competitive platform, but it was too little too late. And maybe that's the argument that the EU was making, that Android was so dominant by then, and Apple too in the US, that there was no shot at a third platform. That was just it. They locked it up. So Microsoft's now out of the mobile business, period. They're not going to do mobile phones at all. They've announced many times. People keep saying, come on, you're going to do a Surface phone, right? And they said, no, we're not. We're never going to do a Surface phone. Get over it.
Yeah, I remember I had before I got my iPhone 6 Plus, I actually had gone to a Nokia phone from Verizon. It was a 929 or 930, which was actually a very nice phone.
Nokia was dominant. Nokia was the dominant phone platform for many years with Symbian. That was their operating system. And I was a big fan of BlackBerry. My first iPhone replaced a BlackBerry. I'd been using BlackBerry for almost a decade. But in 2007, when the iPhone came out, I abandoned the BlackBerry platform, and soon everybody else did, and BlackBerry is pretty much out of the business. They have a third party making their BlackBerry phones now, and they're based on Android. So the BlackBerry operating system's gone.
Now, my question is not related to that, but I just want to make a comment there. But my question is like this. I have a very simple setup in my apartment, or on my television, a Comcast, or not a Comcast, but Cox DVR, Roku, and an Apple TV. And I connect those all together with a Harmony Hub.
Yeah.
All of them work fine. I also have the Amazon Echo set up to try to control them with that hub. And everything works fine except for this. If I say, Echo, turn on my watch Roku, it'll work. It'll turn it on, or the same with the smart TV. But when I do the Apple TV, which I added later after they finally got an app for Amazon Prime, when I ask the A word to start the Apple TV, it comes back and says it doesn't have a profile loaded for this device. I'm not sure why that is, because the Harmony Hub does work, and the other devices do work when you give it the command.
Harmony Hub and Apple TV. Supposed to work. I'm looking. They say they have support for it. The Harmony Hub is a kind of interesting device. It's just a little blob that has infrared in it and will control everything. And in fact, because as you've done, you paired it to your Amazon Echo, you can do your voice, use your voice. So they say it should work. Connect Harmony and Apple TV. Once you're connected, set up your Apple TV, install the apps you like to use. Connect Harmony and Apple TV. Once connected, you may use Harmony to control your Apple TV and trigger activities. And this is, do you have the latest Apple TV, or do you have an older one?
This is an Apple TV 4. Again, the hub does work. I can pick up the phone, my smartphone, use the app. It does operate. It's just the Amazon does not. The Echo does not trigger it when I verbally. The Harmony Hub does work.
Yeah. Well, that's the good news. So the voice control. Want to enable voice and text entry on Apple TV? Harmony Hub-based products allow you to use the Harmony mobile app to enter more text easily from your, or use the voice. That's different. That's now it does say that the I don't. Good question. It says it works, so I'm not sure why you're having issues. I presume you've added it or deleted it and added it again just to make sure. Sometimes things need to be added a couple of times just to make them work properly.
Again, the Roku does work, or even the DVR works for that matter. It's just the Apple TV is the only one that's not working verbally.
I'm looking at the chat room to see if anybody has experience. I know a number of you guys have the Harmony Hub. I had it, set it up, and used it for a little while, but I abandoned it because I'm always testing new things. I wonder if Apple's... Apple doesn't much like Amazon. Amazon doesn't much like Apple. I wonder if there's something in there that is not playing right. Let me just look and see. I'm even seeing YouTube videos of people doing this. So I would suggest this is where YouTube really is can be very valuable. I would suggest you go out, take a look at some of those YouTube. Let's see. Well, Echo is not able to direct. Oh, no. Yeah. No. You can't use Echo to control Apple TV standalone, but you can use a Harmony Hub as an intermediary. So I've seen many sites that say you can do this. I'm not sure why you can't, and I would suggest trying over. Do over, and see. And then there are numerous videos on YouTube about doing this. Maybe one of them will give you a hint. I'm amazed. My son is 24 in a month. He I know what I'm giving him, but anyway, he has basically learned to cook from YouTube. And I think people of his generation, they don't even watch TV anymore. They watch YouTube. And if they want to learn how to do something, you and I might Google it, look at text pages. He and his friends, and I suspect this is true of his generation, they'll just say, well, let me watch the YouTube video. Frankly, I find that difficult. I don't want to sit through, hey guys, and a lot of blah, 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 and then you get to the point. It takes too long, but they like that. To me, I just give me the text so I could skip down to the recipe. But this is one of the reasons YouTube is a massively profitable enterprise. We'll put a couple of links. The chat room's been working hard to find links. We'll put a couple of links on the website maybe that'll help you. TechGuyLabs.com. Tracy in Los Angeles. Hi, Tracy.
Hello. Gosh, pardon me. First, thanks for taking my call. I really appreciate it. I think your show is a great public service. So thank you for your years.
My pleasure, yeah.
So question for you. I have a very dear friend who is a couple things. One is he's all Apple. He's tech savvy. The challenge he's having is that he has carpal tunnel. And he's having surgery. Exactly. So a lot of the things he's trying to figure out how he's going to work around post-surgery. So he's figuring other things out. So I wanted to help him tech-wise. He wants to be able to speak, because he does a lot of writing, and be able to have that be recorded or captured or whatever you want to say.
Here's the good news.
Translate into text.
Mac will do it. Windows will do it. Any phone will do it. They're all built in with his speech-to-text capabilities. I have to take a break. Hang on. I'll give you some specifics in a bit. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So what is he using right now?
He's got everything. He's Apple laptop, Apple iPod, Apple iPhone, Apple everything.
All right. So on his Macintosh, he can turn on Siri has dictation built in. It's very easy. The default setting is you tap the function key twice, and it'll pop up, and you start speaking, and it'll type it, and it's extremely accurate. You used to be.
I knew there must have been something.
Yeah, it used to be that you would have to go out and buy a product, and everybody used something called Dragon Naturally Speaking, and it's still out there. So if he says, well, I want more capability, for instance, Dragon lets you edit with voice too, so you could say backspace, correct that word, spell it this way. And so there are some additional capabilities that I can't remember if they're built into Siri or not, but he should start with the free thing that's already there. So on his Macintosh, he goes to the Siri system preference pane. And
series like SER, like that baseball series?
He'll know what it is. SIRI. It's the spoken. Oh, okay. Siri's the voice assistant that Apple uses, both on the iPhone and on the Macintosh. And let me actually look and see if I'm maybe pointing at the wrong. Maybe it's under access.
I really appreciate it.
It's under. I'm sorry, it's under accessibility.
Okay.
I think. Let me just look. I'm looking at my Mac right now. Yeah, under accessibility.
I'm PC, so sorry.
Yeah. No, just tell him. Look in the accessibility system preference pane. There's a dictation. Okay. There's a dictation section.
Okay.
And it does allow you to edit text and interact with your computer by speaking to it. You can have.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you can have a variety of editing things like select phrase, select all, select word, select previous word, next word, sentence, go to beginning. So they have quite a few advanced editing commands. And then right below dictation, there's Siri, and it says enable type to Siri if you'd like to type your. No, that's not it. No. Where is the dictation? I want to, because you can press the function key twice, and it will pop up and will let you dictate to it. Oh, maybe it's under. No. Where is it? I'm looking at my Mac now, trying to, because I want to give you some specifics. It may be sufficient if he's familiar with it, Mac. It's also possible on the keyboard on the iPhone. There's a little microphone. He can press that, and it will allow him to dictate texts or other messages whenever he's in any field that has text and the keyboard pops up. Just tap the microphone and he can dictate. But since it's carpal tunnel, he probably wants to use dictation all the time.
It's just during the surgery while he's recovering. He wants to be able to, have it translate into text, because he's going to be like, I can't do anything for a while. So he's thinking, I'll write, but he can't write because he's left-handed and the surgery's on his left hand.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah.
Right, and he's just, the good news is he's 75, but he's super smart and really, real tech savvy. So it's like, I knew there was a way to do this. I just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's accessibility dictation.
Okay. Accessibility dictation. Okay, well, that's okay, since he's going to be recovering. If I can send him to the right area.
Yeah, he'll figure it out. But
he doesn't need to buy anything new or anything?
He doesn't. Now, if he finds it's not kind of up to the task, I think it is. I think what's happened is that both Google and Apple have spent lots of money to duplicate the capabilities of things like Dragon Naturally Speaking. So they are now, I would say, right up there, Windows 2, Microsoft 2. So it's a big part of the operating systems now is that you've got voice dictation because there's so many people who, have carpal tunnel or have trouble typing.
Right. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
So now, if you have one more second, okay, so
Sure.
I'm the opposite. I'm an old IBMer. I grew, as a matter of fact, I was one of the first people that was working on the PC anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Older than I want to admit. So on my phone, I'm LG. Is there something like that on my phone too?
There is, because you have Android. And so,
Yes, I do.
same thing. When you get to the keyboard, you'll note on your keyboard a microphone icon.
Right.
And when you tap it, it will go into a dictation mode. You just start talking. And the Google Assistant will handle that for you.
But how does it turn it into text?
It just does it. It's got brains. By the way, I figured out it's not obvious where they put the dictation. So you need to go to, believe it or not, the keyboard.
Okay.
That's the last place I would have looked, but it's in the keyboard settings. Let me put it up on the screen again. It's in the keyboard settings, the system preference pane. There's a dictation tab, and that's what lets you turn on dictation. He will, and you will tell him, click the box that says use enhanced dictation, because that downloads some additional material. It also lets you set the dictation key. The default is function key twice to turn it on, but you can use other shortcuts. And then it tells you get to choose which language as well, because it will do multiple languages. At that point, anytime he taps function key twice, it will automatically launch it, and he can start talking. And then if he wants to see additional commands, that's in the accessibility section under dictation. That's where all the commands are. I did not realize this, but they've added a huge number of editing commands, which means, you can really, you can say bold that text, you can say, all sorts of stuff.
That's what I figure. I figured there was, because almost everything else is what are all those other, I don't want to say them, but all those other systems that we have in our homes are all what? They're all vocally, whatever you want to say, or auto via our voice. So it must translate into writing.
So on your Android device, it's the Google Assistant, and on your Apple devices, it's Siri, S-I-R-I. That's the name they give it. Google decided they didn't want to personify it by giving it a name. And both of them are very capable in terms of dictation. I don't think you need. I wonder what Dragon's doing these days, because you don't really need to buy a third standalone application.
Right. And then how can I send him to your show notes? So if I don't explain something correctly, he can look it up. What's the best way
we'll
to
put
do
it in the
that?
show notes. We'll put, in fact, Josh put some screenshots in there. It's techguylabs.com.
Okay.
And he should look at the show for July 29th, episode 1510. And he can go right into the last call in the second hour. That's your call, and he'll see all the notes
second
there.
hour. Okay, that's probably best, because that way he can look at it at his leisure and do that. Anyway, thanks again so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm glad I could help. You're a good friend. That's nice.
I hope so. Take good care.
Take care. Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We talk about smartphones. We talk about augmented reality. Anything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number if you want to call. Love to hear from you. Be my co-star. 8888 Ask Leo. We were talking before the news at the top of the hour about dictation. This is an example of where change has really benefited users. The idea of voice dictation, speaking to a computer and having it transcribe it, is nothing new. In fact, it's one of the kind of magical holy grail elements of computing that people have been trying to work on for years. Voice synthesis. Ray Kurzweil, remember he was doing the Kurzweil speech synthesizer, trying to get the computer to talk. This is what we've always wanted, a computer-human interaction to be more fluid, more like human to human. so we could talk to it. And we're really getting there. So dictation is a very specific tool where you speak to the computer and it writes it out. It takes a lot of processing power. More importantly, it takes a lot of memory to do it. And in the old days, when memory was short and processors were slow, this was maybe more challenging. But nowadays, every computer starts at 4 gigabytes of RAM. Kind of an astronomical number for people who remember computing in the 90s. Processors that are basically mainframe computers times 4. So we really have we have all we need. There are still companies, well, there's one main company, Nuance, that still sells standalone speech dictation software. Dragon, it used to be called Dragon Naturally Speaking, now they just call it Dragon. It's not cheap. Dragon Professional Individual for Mac version 6 is $300. It starts at $300. If you want the medical version, that's $999. It's almost $1,000. Yikes. I wonder how they're doing, given that almost all the operating systems out there support speech. Android, iOS, Mac OS, and Windows all have built-in dictation. They call it speech to text. That makes sense, right? You're speaking and the computer's turning it into text. On the Macintosh, it's very nice. It's very simple. I was trying to find the system preference pane to turn it on for our caller. It turns out it's in the one place I wasn't looking, keyboard. I understand the logic. We're replacing the keyboard with your voice, but it's in the keyboard settings. You'll see dictation. And if you look in the accessibility settings, there's another dictation entry that shows you the editing commands. And it has quite a few editing commands as well. You could say, bold that last word or backspace or go redo that last sentence, that kind of thing. It's really handy. And the dictation engines have gotten very good. A lot of work's been done. And, it was already, Dragon was very good for years, but it was about 90% accurate. And I suspect we're still in that ballpark, which sounds very good, except that if you have to correct one word in every 10 you speak, you can see that it may be a little annoying. You have to, the other kind of holy grail, the goal of speech recognition was that you could speak normally. I could talk like this and it would dictate. But if you've ever seen the automated captioning system on YouTube or watch TV with captions turned on when they don't have a human typing them, you see how many mistakes. It's hard to do. If I say the word deer, how does a computer know from context only whether it's D-E-A-R or D-E-E-R? It's, and context may not be sufficient, and computers really don't even understand context. They have a very primitive understanding of what you're saying. They're really doing word by word, and so this is challenging. Nevertheless, there's geniuses working at Google and Apple and Microsoft, and they've really done a very good job of actually typing the word as you might have even, if you've ever used the dictation on your phone. I think this has mostly happened to me on Google, but maybe on Siri too, where you're speaking and initially it gets the word wrong. But as you continue, somehow it figures out what you intended and fixes it. Have you ever seen that? It's remarkable. You really feel like wow, computer science. It's amazing. So I would, my counsel to our last caller was not to go out and buy Dragon yet, but try the built-in speech recognition, the speech-to-text capability of the computer and the phone. I suspect that most of the time, I even dictate a lot of my text messages. I use it a lot because it's just simple. I don't like the tiny little keyboard on my iPhone, so I will dictate. Most of the keyboards on most of the phones have little buttons with microphones on them. You might have to search around or maybe even look at your keyboard information in the settings to find it. But on the Macintosh, or the iPhone, it's on the space bar. I think that's a very common place for it. If you just press and hold the space bar. That's interesting. Okay, so this launched Google's speech recognition. So I think I'm using a third-party keyboard, the Google Gboard, to do this. And then it pastes it in. If I switch keyboards, so that's the Google Gboard, it's a microphone on the space bar. Let me switch to the Apple. Yeah, see, the Apple puts it at the very bottom off the keyboard. Same idea. You can speak, and it will listen and type. And it does a pretty good job. Occasionally there's a mistake or two. It's a little more challenging if you have to do everything by voice. But if you can use your hands a little bit to fix mistakes, you can get it pretty accurate. Period. I said period, so it would add a period. You sometimes have to say the punctuation. And I see a couple of errors here that I would have to go in and edit them. But that's not too bad. So give that a try. I think you'll like it. 8888 Ask Leo. It's kind of cool that this is free, part of the operating system, just built in. You don't have to spend extra for it. Andrew in Los Angeles. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Andrew.
Hey.
Hey.
Let me turn off the radio. There's quite a delay.
There is. You know why they do that? In case you say something nasty.
Yeah, I understand.
And poor Michael has to sit there in the studio with his hand hovered over the button, just waiting. You know what? Michael, have you ever had to use it? I think maybe once. And one time only in all these years. So it's not a then it was a slip. It was probably me. He has to dump me more often than he has to dump the callers because I accidentally say a bad word. So that's the delay. It's a 40-second delay. So
yeah, at KFI, you never know.
You never know. Believe me, the engineers at KFI, our mothership down in Los Angeles, they keep their hand over that button all the time.
Oh yeah.
Dump it. Well, that's why you have 40 seconds because when you hit the dump button,
40 seconds?
Yeah, it's 40 seconds.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
so that gives you time to react. It used to be, remember, a 7-second delay. That's not a lot of time, but
that's not
40 seconds is enough that I can actually say, "Hey, Michael, dump this guy," and he can react. Maybe he's down the hall, he runs. He's got 40 seconds to get down there, hit the button, and it'll go back 40 seconds in time. And actually, what it does is it jumps to real. This is actually kind of interesting. It's done digitally. It used to be done with tapes. That's why it was 7 seconds. It's done digitally now. So it dumps to the current. So there's no delay. And then it rebuilds the delay over time. So actually, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong. I suspect that this system gives you a little leeway to dump more than once. So it probably only dumps like 20 seconds. And then if it happens again.
8-second increments.
It's 8-second increments. Oh, all right. So you can swear 5 times. Well, anyway, please don't. Please don't. Actually, hold on, because I do have to take a break, and I want to give you a chance for your question, and I just ate up all your time. I apologize. But we'll take a little break, come back and answer answer your question instead of me just gassing on. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. We were talking before the break with Andrew in Los Angeles. Hi, Andrew.
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
Hey, I'm here.
Yes, sir.
I got an old school question for you, man.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. Now.
See if my brain can remember the past.
MS-DOS.
MS-DOS. Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. When you use F-disk, does it eliminate the whole drive when you use it, or do you know about that?
Yeah, it depends what you do with F-disk. So F-disk actually still exists. Believe it or not. It's the partitioning tool, and when you use Windows and you do the partitioning, F-disk is the tool you'll use. It's not that old menu. Remember the old menu command? You'd enter F-disk and you'd press I can't even remember the commands, 9 to see all the partitions and all that stuff. So if you delete a partition with F-disk, what you will get is not deleted data. You'll lose the structure on the drive, but the data is still there because you can tell because it happens instantly, right?
Okay, so it doesn't wipe the whole drive. It just
no. So you can so typically a drive will have more than one partition. Even in this day and age where you have one C drive, there's always at least a hidden Windows partition, which F-disk will show you. So you go into F-disk, and there was a menu. I think item 4 would display the partition information. So it'd say, well, you got these 3 partitions. You could then delete a partition. That's 3. So you'd press, you'd pick a partition and you delete it. That doesn't delete the data. It just deletes the structure. Think of it as kind of like the card catalog, the thing that tells the operating system how the drive is laid out and where stuff is. A program that's smart can work without that structure, examine each sector, say, I see this sector has something on it, this sector has something, and rebuild the file. So there's no deletion of data has happened.
So it doesn't wipe the drive.
Does not wipe the drive. It makes it hard to read. You need to have an eraser that is that doesn't require partitioning information, but such things exist.
It's so fast, like 1 second.
Yeah, exactly. So that tells you it's not deleting any data. All it's doing is rewriting a little bit of the hard drive where the partition information is. Now, if you want to delete the data, you need a program typically that will overwrite the data and then erase it and then overwrite it again. That's my recommendation for that is something called Derek's Boot and Nuke. But we call it usually by the DBAN, D-B-A-N. That's also a DOS program, by the way. It has to be. You don't want to be in Windows deleting data, usually. Although Windows has a secure erase, that'll work. If it's just one file, then you can use Windows to securely erase that file. But if you want to erase a hard drive, you need to do that kind of externally, outside the operating system.
Yeah, I use it all the time, and it works so good,
Yeah, but it takes a while, doesn't it? It's not instant.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful. But I always wondered if does it wipe the whole drive or
DBAN will wipe what you tell it to wipe, which is typically the whole drive. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't. Okay. So, the reason that's important is because if you just erase the files, there may be some information leakage. Because remember, operating systems like Windows have something called swap files. When they run out of RAM, they store stuff to the disks. Stuff can be stored there that's not erased if you just erase files. So you want to wipe the whole drive and get all the scratch space. Also, there's, if you delete a file, it doesn't delete the data, but it doesn't have a file name associated with it, so some data is still there. There's lots of reasons. And on solid-state drives, it's a whole different issue because...
Yeah, I think I have solid-state.
Yeah, well, now DBAN will not work on a solid-state drive because
No, actually, it's not solid-state. No.
Solid-state, the non-spinning drives, use something called wear leveling to protect the cells. And because of wear leveling, there is information leakage, even if you use something like DBAN to erase it. DBAN can't, with certainty, hit every sector because of wear leveling. So generally, the advice I give on any drive nowadays, but certainly on a solid-state drive, is before you put anything important on there, turn on whole drive encryption. And the reason that works is because there's data still there, but it's scrambled. If you don't have the encryption key, it's nonsense. And so the easiest way to erase an encrypted drive is delete the key. That's instant, and the drive is unusable. It's just garbage. It's as if you used DBAN.
So then, no, you know what? I have it's not solid drive. It's rotating. So
DBAN is fine then. It'll get the slack space. It'll get everything easily because it can directly write to sectors.
So the F-disk only eliminates a partial part of it, not everything, right?
DBAN eliminates everything. If you just wanted to eliminate part of it, you can either DBAN a partition or use the secure erase in Windows to securely erase an individual file.
Yeah, it's the partitions. All right, thanks, Leo, man.
My pleasure. Yeah, this is a complicated subject, and I think the one thing that people are not widely aware of, when you're using a smartphone, that's solid state, right? When you're using anything that doesn't have a spinning drive, most laptops now come with SSDs, you really should turn on encryption right at the beginning. Just turn it on now. If you're using a Macintosh, File Vault's fine. Unfortunately, Windows Home does not come with BitLocker. You have to have the Pro version for BitLocker. But there are third-party whole drive encryption utilities. If you're using an SSD, but my absolute practice every time, and I don't buy spinning drives anymore, I always use SSDs, is to turn on whole disk encryption. It's actually a good reason to get Windows Pro, so you can use BitLocker. Now, remember, don't lose the keys. In the case of BitLocker, there's a certificate. You want to back that up because if you lose the keys, if you don't remember the unlock code, you're going to have a problem accessing your drive. Actually, on my laptops, all of my laptops, I turn on a firmware password and a drive password because the problem with a laptop is if you lose it, somebody then can sit there and bang on that hard drive trying to get in. So you really want everything encrypted. You really do. Turn on encryption, especially on SSDs, because SSDs leak information. Not necessarily a lot, but you never know. Or, as somebody in the chat room is saying, take a sledgehammer to it. The British Secret Service, supposedly, MI5, requires that if you're disabling a hard drive that you drill holes in it, grind it into a fine dust, and then store the dust in the vault in the basement at MI5. I don't think you need to go that far. I think a good D-ban is probably all anybody needs. Nobody's ever demonstrated, even though it's theoretically possible, that once data's been overwritten and rewritten, that you can get it back. You'd have to have some pretty amazing tools, and I don't think anybody, even the NSA, has access to that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Jerry in the Tri-Cities area. Hi, Jerry. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking the call. I had a question. I'm a Charter internet phone TV customer, and I got the solicitation in the mail from them now that they've launched Spectrum Mobile, which I guess is their own telephone service for cell phone. And from what I can decipher, it looks like it works on the Verizon network. And I'm just wondering if you have any opinion with that. I'm always reluctant to change. I've had Verizon for so long, and
I would just stick.
Reliable.
I would stick with Verizon. Is it a lot cheaper?
Well, they're selling it for unlimited data, $45 a line, including free text and talk, it says, or you can buy it by the gig for $14 a gigabyte.
14 a gig is expensive, but at $45 for unlimited is interesting. But, of course, read the fine print, because nobody really offers unlimited. In fact, the FCC's clamped down on phone companies for this unlimited thing because, let me see here. Restrictions apply. Services spectrum. Let's see. After 20 gigabytes per line, you may experience reduced speeds for the rest of the bill cycle. Well, that's not so bad. It's not unlimited. I mean, but it's not so bad because 20 gigabytes is an awful lot. After, wait a minute now, there's more. If you use it as a hotspot, they do let you do that. There's no additional fee. I like that. But after 5 gigabytes of mobile hotspot data, you're reduced to 600 kilobits per second, which is basically unusable. See, how can you call that unlimited if it's unusable after a certain period of time? They don't specify how slow you'll get after 20 gigabytes of regular data. They don't want you to use it.
I rarely use more than 3. I rarely use more than 3 a month.
So that's interesting because it turns out 3 is $45 if they charge $15 a gigabyte, right? So it's the same price. I would get the unlimited. Do you like Spectrum?
Not really.
Do you like Verizon?
Yeah, I've done pretty well with them. They've always been responsive.
Because that's what will happen is the only real change, you'll still be using the Verizon network. The only real change will be your customer service will be calling Spectrum instead of Verizon.
Yeah, which is a negative.
Yeah.
In my experience.
Yeah. Now it does look like it's, I don't know, does Verizon go as low as $45? I don't think they don't have a plan that inexpensive. That's, remember Spectrum's trying to get you to join, and who knows how long you'll get that deal. They probably raise the price slowly to equal Verizon's deal. But what they're doing is called an MVNO, a mobile virtual network operator. That's a company that takes one of the main operators, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, AT&T, and resells it. And often these MVNOs get enough of a deal from the main company, Verizon in this case, that they can offer it for less. I don't know why Sprint and Verizon seem to do that, but they do. So if you're trying to save money, at least for now, that seems like a good way to go. Do you have to buy the phone from them, or can you carry your existing phone over?
Well, that's something I haven't been able to decipher from anything online or in the solicitation.
Well, that would be another one, because of course there's profit for them in selling you a phone. So there's also lock-in, because then you can't
take the phone.
You can't take it with you.
Loser, right?
Yeah. So I'm just looking at their website. It does look like they're being aggressive. They're aggressively pricing it. They have fairly high bandwidth caps. That's not too bad. It's really going to be, the network performance will be identical to Verizon in most cases, although occasionally MVNOs do get capped. For instance, if it's a crowded cell site, the Verizon customers may get priority over the Spectrum customers. Right. So that's something. I don't know if that's the case in this case, but that's something to consider as well. I think unless you're really price sensitive, I'd probably just stick with Verizon.
Right. Yeah, I guess my experience, you mentioned some stuff earlier about Charter and Spectrum. Like they'll give you I've got 60 Mbps on my internet now, but now they're giving all the new people 100. But if you call them and ask them for 100, they won't give it to the
cable companies. They're just awful. They're just awful. We are stuck with them, but they're just horrible. And because cable companies and all the telecom companies in general, Verizon too, spend so much money buying Congress and the local legislatures, we're just out of luck. They're just gonna continue to dominate in this country forever. It's a sad state of affairs. It's unfortunate.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for your opinion.
My pleasure. Yeah. Comcast is doing their own Xfinity wireless as well, but they're doing something different. They're not. I don't think they're riding on anybody's network. They're hoping that they can use your Wi-Fi access. You may have noticed, if you're an Xfinity customer, that when you get an Xfinity modem, it works for you. The Wi-Fi works for you, but there's a secret channel created for all other Xfinity customers to log into. So as you wander around downtown, you may notice there are all these Xfinity hotspots. You might think, "Oh, wow, that's great. Comcast has gone around putting up hotspots." No, that's some other Xfinity customer whose internet is being shared with you. Isn't that generous? Comcast says, "Well, it doesn't impact your speed." Maybe, I guess not, but that's the whole point of that was initially to give Xfinity customers access to open Wi-Fi all over the place, but ultimately to provide a cell phone company. I can't imagine it's very good carriage. If anybody has Xfinity cell phone service, let me know. Does it work everywhere? Is it really reliable? I find that hard. I tell you, I turned off because my phone, once you log into one of those Xfinity hotspots, it'll just join them from now on. I turned that off. I said, forget that one. Because half the time there's no internet on it. It's just sitting there not working, which means suddenly my phone turns off LTE and stops working. I don't get data anymore. So I don't use those anymore. It's a bad idea. Ben in Bakersfield, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Ben.
Hey, how's it going, Leo?
It's going great. How are you?
Doing good. I have a problem. Not sure if maybe you could help me out. I use Plex Media Server on my Windows 10 PC, and I have, shows on there that I've taken off my own DVDs so I can stream them to the big screen in the bedroom, hooked to a Fire TV.
Yeah.
On certain shows, I don't know, let's say show Stargate, for example, it will play 4 episodes fine, then all of a sudden it will just say disconnected. Oh. But then I'll go ahead and play Star Trek, and it will play the whole entire season, no problem. And it only does it with certain shows. Do you know why it would do that, or is it a format issue, or?
You're not alone in this. It sounds like it's just a naming issue. So as you know, the Plex server is looking for series by name and so forth.
Right, and it makes sure I name them correctly. Stargate episode 01, season 01, episode 01, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. There's a fix incorrect match option. I would just make sure that you're matching. So the series, the way, because when you have these, sometimes the naming is inconsistent and so forth. So the series has to be named consistently in a way that Plex can understand. Plex is a really great product, but as you can kind of see, it's a hobbyist tool, and sometimes things can go wrong. So if it's transcoded incorrectly, make sure it's exactly the same transcoded format. And I think it's probably has to do with naming convention. That's why they have a fix incorrect names in there. That's what I would check. If a series you play and it's watching and it's fine, but it doesn't see the next item in the series, that's usually what it is. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Mike B says it's a transcoding issue. So I'm not sure why it would be transcoded differently. Why would the first 4 play and then the rest not play? Mike. I don't use Plex, so I don't know. But That's Mike's thing. Usually when you get this kind of weird thing that part of the series is not found, it's just because it's not named right. There's a naming issue. Looks like Stargate particularly has had problems with that. I don't know why that would be. Yeah. Or maybe it came down in a different format, yeah. So make sure they're all the same format. Like clearly the first 4 played fine, so make sure that the format of the first 4 is the same as the remaining episodes in the series. And then you may also want to check and make sure that there's a consistent naming. No, but I saw that I could do that Mars worm. I haven't gotten around to it. But I will, because that would be really nice. And then I could use the cube to control the TiVo, right? I don't use the cube very much. So you have to turn on the TiVo. Oh, wait a minute. TiVo has Alexa as Echo skills. So you use the Echo skill. Okay. Mike B has a link that says the new Plex upgrade has caused some issues with transcoding and streaming. So that's another one to look at. Thank you, Mike B. We'll put that in the show notes. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. We will continue to take calls after the show ends in the next 15 minutes. I'll do it for another 45. So if you're on the line, hang on the line. If you're not and you want to get through, this often is the easier way to get through with less competition after the show ends in the next 15 minutes. 8888 Ask Leo. Dave, Hermosa Beach, California. Hi, Dave. Come on over to the phone.
Hello, Leo.
Hey, welcome. What can I do for you?
Yes, I wanted to know, I'm trying to hook up my cell phone to the HDMI because I'm trying to stream DirecTV now.
Right.
And the guy at Fry said I couldn't do it because my phone was too new.
What kind of phone do you have?
Moto G5 Plus.
Moto G5 Plus. And you want to connect it, probably, believe it or not, the easiest way would not be to connect it with a hard wire. But if your TV doesn't have cast built in, which a lot of new TVs do, get a Chromecast, and then you can Chromecast from the phone to your TV, and you'll get better results that way, frankly. And you won't have to sit there with a phone hooked up by a wire to your television.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if the Chromecast will eat the data from AT&T. That was my only problem. But
no, it doesn't eat the data, because what happens with the Chromecast, it gets handed off. So the phone no longer is downloading. The Chromecast, you need Wi-Fi for this to work, but the Chromecast is already on your Wi-Fi network. And so what your phone is telling your Chromecast to do is, you see this Netflix show I'm watching? You go get it and play it. And it uses the Wi-Fi instead of your AT&T. Is that what you want it to do?
Well, I don't have Wi-Fi, so
okay. So that does make it a little bit more complicated. Chromecast requires some form of internet. Do you have internet at all in the house?
Just a hotspot off the phone.
Yeah. So anything you do will use your AT&T. So unfortunately, HDMI supporters are not supported. HDMI connectors or adapters are not supported on the G5. So you'll need to use a Chromecast. Or maybe your TV does Miracast, but again, in the same thing, you need an internet connection for this to work.
Okay.
So I guess you could have let me think. It might work. This is kind of a snake eating its own tail, but if your TV's working, you already have can the TV use your phone hotspot?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Good news about Chromecast, they're $35. You'd have to see if you could set up the Chromecast to use your phone's hotspot.
Okay.
And then if you could, then you would sell. So every app that supports Chromecast has a little Chromecast icon in the menu. Netflix is a good example. You're watching Netflix and you say, oh, I want to watch this on the big screen. You tap the Chromecast icon. It will give you a list of Chromecasts. In this case, it'll be the one sitting right in front of you. And you say, yeah, do that. And I guess this would work with a hotspot. It will continue to use your AT&T data. There's no way around that.
Right. What about a Galaxy S5? Is that an old enough phone to...
It's not that it's a modern phone, honestly. It's just that the G5 doesn't do it. I don't know why he said it's too modern of a phone. A lot of phones support HDMI out. Let me look at see if the S5 does. Yeah, it looks like it does. Samsung says it does. So if you have an S5, it'll work. His contention was that the more modern phones no longer do that. I don't know. iPhone does it. But again, it's just a pain. I mean, it's honestly, well, I guess you're one of those unusual situations because you're using a hotspot on your phone as your internet access. Normally, what people would do if they have Wi-Fi at home is just, use a dongle of some kind, like the Chromecast, and do that. Ensure the Chromecast and Moto G5 are connected to the same Wi-Fi network. Well, they are. It's just coming out of the phone. It may not work. It's an odd. If you're in hotspot mode, it's an odd situation. But the good news is a Chromecast is cheap. Many TVs now have casting built in. Rick, Barstow, California. Hey, Rick, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yeah. I'm having a little trouble trying to raise some funds for something. I've got a GoFundMe page set up.
Yeah.
But you can't find it by using Google. I've tried.
Well, I know that I can for other GoFundMe pages, Google. So I'm not sure.
I mean, I've tried, stuff in the, words out of the title of the page.
So I have a friend who had a GoFundMe page some time ago. I put in her name in the Google search, and among other things, it finds that GoFundMe page. So I'm not sure why yours isn't showing up. How new is the GoFundMe page?
It's been there since February.
Okay. One of the things, of course, Google does, the way it ranks stuff, is if other people link to it. So if you have a fundraiser at GoFundMe.com, probably a good idea would be to make sure that you put the link on Twitter, on Facebook, on your own website. Put it as many places as you can. Encourage your friends to do the same. That will certainly help it show up. Google does, although I understand they're going to get rid of this. Google used to, anyway, let you add a site to their web crawler by entering the site's URL in. Thing is, GoFundMe's already on it. They're already crawling GoFundMe. So I'm not sure. I'm really actually not sure why that would not work. That should work. And I know it works because I'm doing it with some GoFundMe pages that I've seen. So I'm just not sure. Of course, you can always tell people to type site:/GoFundMe.com in Google and then the search, and that will for sure find it. But there's nothing I know of about Google blocking GoFundMe. Get some friends to link to it. That'll help. Robert, Murrieta, California. Hi, Robert. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hello, Robert. Come to the phone, my beamish boy. Speak to me. All right. Hey, Robert. Are you on mute? Maybe you're on mute. Sometimes this happens a lot lately. I think it's a function of how smartphones work. Let's try Ben in Missoula, Montana. Hello, Ben.
Hello.
Welcome.
Question about internet speed, my smart TV. I got rid of satellite TV and added Cat 5 cable in a new part of our house and directly hooked that up to the back of the smart TV. But it seems slower than the Wi-Fi in our house that has to go through several walls. Am I doing something wrong?
Well, how long is the throw? How distant does the line go?
It's got a lot of spooled up lines. So
well, count all of that, even if it's spooled up.
Yeah, so it could be 50, 60 feet.
Well, that's not too bad. There may be some interference on that cable that could be causing it to do that. It's just Ethernet to Ethernet, right? There's nothing in between.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boy, you got me. I would try a shorter cable, get rid of the spool, and make sure there's no interference, because that could absolutely cause a problem. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. And yeah, it could be if you're not using well, he says he's using Cat 5. Maybe Cat 5. You know, if you really wanted to, you could use a cable checker, I guess, but that seems like a lot of extra work. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.